So, I made a video when Evolving Skies booster boxes were $700. And when I made the video, I said I sounded crazy, but at $700, I believe that Evolving Skies booster boxes were still a good investment. And I made that video just a few months ago. And when those booster boxes, went from $700 to around $1,000, I talked about Evolving Skies booster boxes again. I said even at $1,000, I sound crazy. This set is relatively new. I still said it was a good investment. And here I am today. Prices have gone up since I made my last video talking about Evolving Skies, but I'm saying it once again, and I'll keep saying it until it's not true. But Evolving Skies booster boxes are still a good investment. I'm saying it again, even though it's even way more expensive than when I made my last video talking about Evolving Skies booster boxes. So you can see here, Evolving Skies is a relatively new set. It came out about 3.5 years ago, August 27th of 2021. Now, when you see the price of Evolving Skies booster boxes, it is now $1,400. Now, this set only being 3.5 years old, it's expensive, right? And, if you compare it to the next most expensive booster box from the Sword and Shield era, which is Fusion Strike booster boxes are at $450. So this is triple as expensive as the next most expensive booster box from this era. So, relative to everything in its era, it is expensive. But when you compare this to a box from another era, a set that was, I would say, in its era just as impactful as Evolving Skies becomes very cheap when you compare it. Now, there are big differences between these sets. I always compare these sets whenever I talk about Evolving Skies being a good investment. I'm talking about Team Up. There are some differences. Team Up did not get printed as much as Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies definitely got printed a lot more than Team Up. Like Evolving Skies packs were in a ton of products. All these sorts of things, right? But the common thing about these two sets is that they're the outliers of each era. And I would argue that Evolving Skies is way more of an impactful and just nostalgic set for people than Team Up. And I think that's, pretty well agreed with everybody because everybody knows Evolving Skies. Everybody, because of this card. This has to be the most just known and just sought after card in modern times. Like everybody knows about the Moonbryon. Like everybody does because it's just the artwork. And Umbreon now seems to be the new like Charizard, the new it's like the most seemingly popular and just sought after Pokemon. I mean, we're seeing it with Prismatic, right? The Umbreon is the most expensive card. So it just seems like Umbreon now and just evolutions in general are just popular. I mean, they've always been popular, but Evolving Skies having an Umbreon with obviously very nice artwork. I mean, there's a reason why it's this expensive, right? And then having, the rest of Evolving Skies, just the artworks being really, really great, and just, in my opinion, very clean. People have argued if, Evolving Skies is, the better Eevee set than Prismatic. I'm not here to debate that, but overall, Evolving Skies, it just has there's no bad artworks in this set. There's evolutions, Rayquaza, Dragonites, there's nothing wrong with this set. It is as close as you can get to it being a perfect set. And, in the future, and even now with Prismatic Evolutions, it just having a set that is this, impactful and this just, I don't know, it's like a groundbreaking set. Even with Prismatic, even though, it's super expensive and stuff, I don't know if anything will really ever come close to Evolving Skies. Maybe in the next, era or something, but this has been the most just talked about and just, I guess, just nostalgic set, it seems, in modern times. Like, when you think about Sword and Shield, you think about Evolving Skies. Like, it's just how it is. And even though Evolving Skies still is relatively new, when this ages, I think this is going to be seen very, just differently than it is now, because it still seemed to be pretty modern. But when this hits to 5, 6 years old, I think it's going to be pretty comparable, or even better than Team Up. And like I said, the reason why I always compare these sets is because they're both the most expensive booster boxes from their era. They're both outliers. But the thing is that Team Up, even though it didn't get printed as heavily as Evolving Skies, there is way less demand for Team Up than Evolving Skies. I think that's pretty I think just known. Like, people talk about Evolving Skies way more than Team Up. Now, Team Up is about 6 years old now, so it's almost double the age of Evolving Skies and where the booster box price is now. You can see here on TCG Player, the cheapest listing is $4,500. However, you do want to go on eBay, because that's where most of the sales are at, because there's not many sales on TCG Player, because it is more of an expensive booster box. More expensive booster boxes get listed on eBay. Now, when you look at this set, you can see the total set value is less than Evolving Skies, but at this point it does become more just the booster box being the collectible and being from the set rather than the value of cards, because at this point a lot of people aren't really opening up the booster box. But still, you can see here, Team Up is like a $4,000 booster box, but it has less total set value than Evolving Skies. But like I said, at this point, when it's this old, set value and cards don't matter as much. It's just the name on the box. But you can see here, Evolving Skies is still beating, Team Up, and the booster box is way cheaper. Now, I just want to show you guys, some more listings on eBay, just because, like you saw on TCG Player, there's barely any listings. These still sell relatively, I guess, consistently, like a few times a week it seems. One recently sold. I don't know what the best offer is, but before that, a few days before, one sold for $3,800. A couple days, before that, another for $3,800, and another for $3,800. Someone sold for $2,500. These are pretty cheap. Actually, seeming like way too cheap. Before that, $4,000. And you can see here, like, they're selling maybe one every week, sometimes a couple of weeks. So you can see here, it's selling for around $4,000. And there are big disparities, because when boxes get to this point, when they're this expensive, there are like a lot of price disparities between listings, so it does become hard to kind of find a market price. But it seems like around $4,000 is what these are going for. Now, like I said, this is only 6 years old. Evolving Skies is 3.5 years old. Now, Evolving Skies right now at $1,400. If you were to ask me, in 3 years' time, can this hit similar levels to Team Up? Because Team Up now is $4,000. I think it's very possible. Because, Evolving Skies, in my opinion, it's just way more of a sought-after set because of the Moonbryon. And in my opinion, the Moonbryon is way more popular and known than the Latios and Latios from Team Up. I think Team Up, it's still popular because it is still a good set. But when you look at Team Up and you look at Evolving Skies, I don't think there's much of a competition with artworks. And like I said, I know at this point it's not really about the cards in the set, but more of just the name on the box. I think Evolving Skies is going to win at the end of the day. It's just because Team Up is older and it's had more time to grow. And yes, it hasn't been printed as much as Evolving Skies, but in my opinion, Evolving Skies has way more demand than Team Up. And just the growth we see from Evolving Skies, it just seems like it never stops. Like, you can see, it has plateaus, right? But this is when, all of Sword and Shield was really plateauing. But if you look in just the past 6 months, guys, like, this has literally doubled. Like, that's how crazy of a set this is. It doubled from the mid 600s to now 1,400 in just 6 months. And when you think about a 3-year time frame, $1,400 in a few years from now, I think easily it's going to be double what it's at now. Obviously, there are some considerations you have to make when you're buying booster boxes this expensive. Liquidity, where you're going to sell it, all these sorts of things. I'm going to make a video about that later today, talking about liquidity and stuff. But, you know, if you have a way to sell booster boxes, on your eBay store through consignment, whatever. Like I said, I'm making a video later today about talking about that. I think Evolving Skies as it is right now, if you're thinking about it, I think it's still a great investment because all you have to do is look at Team Up. You compare the sets, and in my opinion, Evolving Skies is way more of an impactful and better set. 1400 is not that expensive, considering that Team Up boxes still sell pretty regularly for $4,000. And, in 3 years from now, I think it can hit Team Up levels or even more. Just because this set has just demand nonstop. Even during times when, a lot of the boxes from Sword and Shield, like Fusion Strike, Chilling Reign, when they were going down in price, and everything, Evolving Skies, even through its, reprints and everything, it has really never gone down. It's always just gone up or plateaued because this set is just very strong. So, that's all I want to talk about. I make videos talking about Evolving Skies periodically when they go up in value like this because even at this price, I still think it's good. And like I said, I made a video a few months ago when it was at $700, and I said it was good at that time. And if you were to have bought then, you've already doubled your money. But in a couple years from now, I think you can double your money. I think it's going to be the same thing. I know, at this point, I sound even crazier than I was, a few months ago when I made the video saying that $700 was a good pickup. But hey, a couple years from now, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to think it's cheap. Even at the end of this year, to be honest, with how this market's going, I think you might look at 1400. At the end of this year, it could be $2,000 plus. Wouldn't surprise me. This thing grows exponentially. Look at the past 3 months. Here it is. It's like 850 to 1400 in just 3 months. This stuff at these price points are exponential. And Evolving Skies being this strong of a set, I don't see it stopping. So that's the end of this video. I just wanted to revisit Evolving Skies because I haven't talked about the set in a while. But yes, even at this price point, I still think it's a good investment. So that's the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.